In the meantime, I will call the meeting to order and ask for adoption of the public agenda, please.
Move adoption.
Second.
Discussion? Anyone opposed? That is carried. Any petitions or delegations?
None.
None, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to adoption of the previous minutes, please.
Move adoption, Evans.
Second.
Lee.
Thank you. Welcome, Brenda.
Aye.
Any discussion? Anyone opposed to adoption? That is carried. Any business arising from the minutes? No public considerations. On the chair's report,
I
Go
have
ahead.
a question
Yes.
written down here. I had question, local artists for recreate, question mark. Are we open to all artists or just First Nations art? What was the upshot of that?
I'm not sure what that relates to.
From a last meeting minutes, like when we talked about putting local art into the new recreate space, did we commit as a commission to only looking at local artists or local First Nations artists? Or are we looking at a broader scope?
Well, it was more not specifically art pieces, if you will, more about the character and design of the facility when we were talking about the art.
Okay.
And I think we had a broad spectrum for sure. But we want to, represent the local First Nations in the design art, if you will.
Okay, thanks.
And Commissioner Lee, thank you for that. I think we will get into more detail after we have confirmation that we're moving forward when funding is secured. Just want to say in the chair's report that there was the GICB application grant of 25 million that came out from the federal government, and had forwarded on to Mr. Leach as to whether our phase 2 project that we currently are undergoing, and if it didn't meet that time frame, whether phase 3 would be a consideration. So that's just for information. Mr. Leach and Ms. Garak can provide feedback at a later meeting when they've had an opportunity to sort of see what may be applicable and move forward. So moving on to the staff report, Strathcona Gardens Restart Plan Phase 3. I'll take a motion to receive and then refer to staff.
Move receive.
Thank you. And Mr. Leach through to Ms. Garak.
Yes, through the CEO and through the chair, to the commission. Today, we do have a report on the phase 3 of the Strathcona Gardens Restart Plan. Everybody in the province knows that we've moved to step 3, and things like masks are not mandatory in indoor facilities, and a lot of things really escalated our ability to open in a little bit more of a normal context, I suppose you can say. The staff report that's in front of you lays out a few of those details about what we're transitioning to for the summer. And there are some topics that have generally come up at the commission meetings that regularly are an interest to the commission, including spectators. The number of spectators within the facility is well documented in this report at being 50% of the capacity, the seated capacity. And we have put in a little bit of a flow chart for you to understand what that means for the various amenities at Strathcona Gardens that would be bookable space for many organizations, clubs, or users. And this is under the phase 3 plan. For example, you see the Rod Brendamore Arena and the arenas for the Arena 2, all listed in the grid that's provided in the staff report. There are some things with the pool closing July 23rd for the annual maintenance shutdown and reopening in September. Changing the processes that were in place on pre-registration didn't make a lot of sense, considering most of our people had already booked 2 weeks out when the announcement came forward. So we're continuing with the pre-registration protocols that were in place, and we'll revisit those protocols as we transition to phase 4 in the reopening in the fall. If there's any questions about the phase 3 restart, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions from the commission? Don't see any.
Cal here. I would just like to congratulate Corinne and her crew, the staff there, for suffering through this long period of change, and hopefully we can ramp out of it faster than we got into it.
Thank you, much appreciated.
Thank you, Commissioner Gunnerud. Took the words right out of my mouth. This is certainly, while it is more additional work for all of the staff at Strathcona Gardens, I'm sure it is welcome news, and I was very pleased to see the numbers that were allowed in the Brindy moving forward. It's surprising, and certainly will make a lot of folks pretty happy. So on receipt, is anyone opposed? That is carried. Strathcona Gardens Grant Opportunity Infrastructure Canada for receipt.
Move receipt.
Second.
Any discussion? This is further to what I was referring to in my remarks. Anyone opposed to receipt? That is carried. And B, just to formalize the direction to staff.
Move B.
Second.
It was moved by Commissioner Evans and seconded by Commissioner Kerr. And just through to Mr. Leach, to Ms. Garak, to staff. Any comments?
Yeah, in this
oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Corinne.
Yeah, sorry. This report Wolfgang had put together and has a little bit of a synopsis on that as well. So pass it over to Wolfgang.
Yes, to the CAO in the chair to the commission. Thank you, Corinne. Great news with regards to grant opportunities that will help get funding to the Recreate project, which has been a challenge for the last few years. So back in April, mid-April, the government of Canada, through the Infrastructure Canada, announced more funding. This is funding for $1.5 billion federal funding over the next 5 years. The program, they named this the Green and Inclusive Community Building Program. It is a national program with the objective of improving the availability of existing buildings and also to build new facilities with communities that are in higher needs, which is the case of Strathcona Gardens. So we thought about what could be its scope of work that we could submit for this program. So we already have an application that we're still waiting to be announced, whether we are successful or not. So we decided that part of the Recreate project, why not to select the areas that need to be renovated, which is, it meets the criteria of the program. So they have funding available for 3 different types of projects. They call that small retrofits, medium retrofits, and large retrofits. Just to give you an idea of the scale of that, the first small retrofit, they're funding projects between $100,000 and $249,000. That's not where we fit. We're in the medium retrofit projects, which is $250,000 to $2.99. They have 2 ways to actually process these applications. They have a continuous non-competitive intake, which is what we're seeking now, instead of maybe having a competitive intake that has been scheduled. So the last intake that they announced closed back in July the 6th. There's also I believe that a new intake will be announced, but for this opportunity that we're putting a recommendation is to go ahead immediately and work with consultants so we can have an application submitted. The estimated cost to renovate the areas is 3.9. We will have to reduce the scope of work so we fit between the $2.9 million. And that is the recommendation that we have. Another thing about is interesting in this program is that all projects need to be completed. Construction has to happen between 2021 and 2026, which is feasible looking at the timelines of the Recreate project. And one more thing that I found very interesting is that there are no limits to the number of applications that we can submit. We just have to be very strategic on selecting scope of work. And hopefully looking at something else, thinking about related to the arenas. It could be that, or could be also part of the Recreate project. That's all I have with regards to the GICB program, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Questions from the commission?
I have a question, Director Lee.
Go ahead.
Is this 100% grant, or is it 75-25 or 60-40? Do we have to contribute an amount to match the grant?
Yeah, through the chair to Director Lee, good question. The funding is 100%.
Oh, great. Okay, that's good news.
Commissioner Lee, further to that though, knowing that we have already established the potential financial contribution from the SRD, it certainly puts us in an even more favorable position if we are showing that we are putting quote unquote skin in the game financially, because there will be an awful lot of applications that will be going for 100% funding. So we are certainly well positioned, and that's a credit to staff and also the commission itself. Is correct?
So are you saying that, Mr. Chair, that we would kick in some money even though we're not required to in the grant? That
would depend. But staff will work forward with options. But as Wolfgang has indicated, some of the lesser amounts do not require that they're up to 100%. But it's how to be strategic and position ourselves in the best way possible. Wolfgang?
Yes, I'm sorry, my apologies. I'm just reviewing again the amount of funding. My apologies again. I just want to rectify that I was looking at they only fund 100% to territories and indigenous communities. For us, in this case, any retrofit that is 10 million and up will be 60% funding.
10 million and
60.
up.
My apologies, Director Lee. I'm just rectifying right now.
Is and up is 60% from the federal government.
That is correct. But our application, Wolfgang, is going in under the medium, which is under 2.99 for the renovated areas.
Yeah, so retrofits up to 9.9, they fund 80%, which is where we are, 2.9.
Okay.
So anything up to 10 million and up will be 60. So again, going back, for us, for our case, looking at a medium retrofit will be 80%.
Okay, that's clear. Okay, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Anything further? And we have a recommendation.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Any further discussion? And just for confirmation, Mr. Leach and Mr. Rack and Wolfgang, so the grant applications will be for the pool and fitness area, or are we looking at our phase 3, the Brindy, or will you come back to the commission with what that is?
So through the chair to Commission Adams. So what you call phase 3 is related to the arenas, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this application is won't include a scope of work for the arenas. What it will include is all the areas that will be demolished and renovated, existing areas that are part of the Recreate project, and excludes the new pool.
Okay, thank
So
you. That's helpful.
and just to clarify that, when I read your email about putting an application for the wellness center, which is what we applied back in 2020, just to make it more clear, what we have decided at this point is that we could consider that once we get the results of that application. I believe that's coming up. They should announce this anytime soon. So we were thinking if we're not successful with that application, we could use that information that we already submitted to apply for another grant application under the same program, because we're eligible to put multiple applications.
Excellent. Really appreciate the proactive strategic planning from staff. So anything further from the commission?
I'd just like to say, Wolfgang, you're a superstar. You've been doing such great work. Thank you.
I think we got an all-star team.
Yeah.
I'll always say that. So on that note, I will call the question on B. Is anyone opposed? That is carried. And I think that we have no correspondence, nothing else. So did somebody want to terminate so our superstars can get a little bit of a summer break?
Before we terminate, I would like a comment from the chair on Mr. Brindamore being named the NHL Coach of the Year.
Thank you, Commissioner Grunerud. The night that Rod was named the Jack Adams Award winner for NHL Coach of the Year, I sent him an email that evening congratulating him and how proud all of Campbell River and the North Island are, and that he had set an example for all hockey players, not only in our area, but across North America. And also sent a note to his mom and dad here in Campbell River. And 7 o'clock in the morning, I can't imagine. He just won the Jack Adams Trophy, and it's a 3-hour time change. And 7 o'clock my time, he had emailed me back just saying, really appreciate the comment, and wishing everybody well back here, and he's pretty excited. Commissioner Lee.
Yeah, I was going to move termination now, but I wanted to, after the meeting closes, I'd like to talk to David Leach and our chair, not about Strathcona Gardens issues, but something else that I forgot to mention to you today.
Okay, we'll stay on.
Okay.
Albeit briefly, there's still sun out there. I want to go.
Yeah, it's going to be really quick.
Okay, on termination, anyone opposed? That is carried. Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, staff. Great work. And Mr. Leach.
Thanks,
and,
everybody.
Brenda, just hang
Thank
on.
you. Have a great summer.
Have a nice day.
Yeah.